So one of my favorite stories from the 2021 NFL season was Mike White's 2.5 game blip with the New York Jets. Zach Wilson had just gone down with an injury in Week 7 against the Patriots, and New York's last-minute replacement in Joe Flacco wasn't yet ready to take the field. So the no-name fifth-rounder out of Western Kentucky got the nod to go against the Bengals in the next week. What followed was essentially the greatest quarterback start in league history. Mike White's 37 pass completions on 45 attempts was the most ever, and his 405 yards ranked just below Cam Newton's 422 in 2011. Of course, we know what happens next. White flames out over the course of the next two games, throwing 4 picks and no touchdowns in a 17-45 blowout to the Buffalo Bills 2 weeks later. But when White was throwing all those completions and catching a Philly special for a 2-point conversion to beat the eventual AFC representatives in the Super Bowl, was all of that just luck? Or is Mike White actually good?
Handoff to Moore, back to Crowder. They got the two to the quarterback, White! And they lead by 3. 2-point conversion.
It was most definitely luck. And while I hate to do my boy Mike dirty like that, it's the truth. He does do a couple things decently though. For one, he doesn't force things and stays patient in short yardage situations. Like here, where he waits for his tight end to come open and then throws a pass away from the defenders where only his guy can get it. And then he of course has some of that sweet moxie that we all love in backup quarterbacks. He can go out and win you a game, and he proved that. Even throwing 2 picks in the Bengals game, he still came back to complete one of the biggest upsets of the season. His resiliency can't be overstated. Plus, this is just a sweet pass to Braxton Berrios. You can't not love that. Unfortunately, that's where the good ends and we have to talk about the bad. When you rewatch Mike White, one thing becomes very clear. This guy really likes to throw it short. In fact, I'd go as far as to say he loves throwing it short. And while throwing it short or to the checkdowns and to the flats often isn't a problem in itself, only throwing it there is. So let's go ahead and rewind that last play and take a look at it from the perspective of Mike White as my roommate playing Madden. As you'll see, there are a bunch of routes available to him, but he's going to go ahead and lock in on the targeted one. Now, unlike my roommate, Mike White doesn't run back 20 yards and throw across his body. But also unlike my roommate, Mike White's highlighted route seems to always be the most conservative option, and he's typically fairly unwilling to look for plays that could result in more yards, which is how he misses a wide open receiver here, cutting towards the middle. He wasn't highlighted. This next clip really demonstrates White's unwillingness to look away from his checkdown options. Here, I highlighted both of the short routes because they're really the only places his eyes look. Even when we get the back angle and see him looking across the field, he never seems to notice his tight end coming wide open in the middle. Instead, he opts for a throw to the other side of the field with no power behind it, and he's lucky it doesn't get picked off. Another flaw in White's game is his current capacity to read defenses both pre and post snap. You hear this critique a lot with young quarterbacks, how they really have to see their guys come open before they throw. That typically means the quarterback isn't really reading the defense and anticipating who that open guy will be. So, on that first point, check out this play against the Bills. White is going to do one last scan of the defense, just before a few players on that side of the ball shift over into new positions. You can see it especially with the cornerback backing up and the safety cheating over to that same side. After White snaps the ball, his eyes lock onto the receiver matched up against that same corner, and the safety knows he can forget about everything else on the field and book it over to that same side of the end zone. He does, and the play turns into an interception. On the second point, his lack of anticipation, this play against the Colts is pretty egregious. Even though White does make a nice completion here down the field, Indianapolis leaves the entire middle of the field open, and it takes Mike a long time to find the open man. His eyes just don't seem to be downfield. And the reason he may not be looking downfield? Well, it looks like he's got accuracy issues on anything past 10 yards. Even when you go back to the Cincinnati game, a lot of his better passes could be credited to the receivers as well as him, like this one to Cole that didn't count. But more often, his deeper passes sailed away from his target and into double coverage, like this one against the Bills. So here's the thing about Mike White. He's awesome. His prospects of becoming a starting level quarterback in the NFL, not so awesome. Then again, White should have a good shot at sticking around as a backup or practice squad player at the very least. When you've proven something, you've got a notch on your resume that a lot of backups don't. Altogether though, the Mike White game was more the result of the Jets as a unit playing a fantastic game and head coach Robert Saleh bringing in a creative game plan to win despite his quarterback's deficiencies. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, as it helps other people find the channel. Thanks.